Hey guys, welcome to our tax roundup. Today we are talking on tax reform 2.0. Keep your eyes peeled for that. We're talking about Manafort going to jail for tax fraud, and that is one of Trump's cronies is going to jail, and it's making big news, and the reason has to do with tax. Lastly, we are in the largest bull market that we've seen, certainly in this century, and I think ever. Is that right?
Yeah, ever.
It's ever. So we'll touch on that first because, a lot of folks in this business are enjoying a great economy. I think anyone who complains about this economy right now doesn't remember how bad it can get.
Mm-hmm.
We have been in 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Since when did it start?
They were saying somewhere around March of 09.
March of 09?
Yeah, right after the
How are we at 10 years now?
It's what the records are saying. We
That doesn't
broke
make sense
the
to me.
record from 1990 to 2000.
Okay, so we broke a record,
Yeah.
which doesn't make sense to me because 1990 to 2000 is 10 years, but 2009 to 2018 isn't.
Yeah.
But I guess there must have been some dip in that makes this one longer. But yeah, the last decade of prosperity that we have is 1990 to 2000. And we all know what happened in 2001. For those of us that are old enough, Sean, you won't remember. You were, how old were you in 2001?
6.
You're 6 years old.
6.
We're moving on. So bull market, 2001 huge crash. Is that going to happen 2018? Is that going to happen 2019? It's a big question. A lot of people are talking about it. And I know that in many instances, that's what people were saying last year. Nonetheless, clients are still buying. We're still advising on purchases. So we're still seeing a strong market. I think all the indicators that I know of, feel free to tell me otherwise, but all the indicators that we're checking show a pretty strong economy. So we expect that to be the case for the next at least the next kind of 6-month horizon or so. Tax reform 2.0, the House is expected to vote by when? October 1, I think it is.
Yeah.
October 1 on round 2 of the tax bill. And why that's important is that a lot of the tax provisions on the individual side are temporary measures where the corporate taxes are fixed. And currently, the deficit is projected at 10 trillion with the new tax reform, meaning that there is debt that the country is going to take on because the country's spending more than it's collecting in taxes, thereby cutting taxes is going to increase that deficit to 10 trillion. The reason they got the tax reform through back then was because of the expiring provision. So the idea that tax rates for individuals are going to go back up, kept it at 10 million. Who knows, 10 trillion, rather, who knows what the deficit's going to be now that that's going to be permanent. But I think the point is what all the tax professionals are saying, my old advisors at my old firm, is that tax reform is going to change again. There are a lot of Democrats who aren't happy with the current bill, the way it was written, and there is some conversation about the House going Democrat. I'm not in politics. This is not a political channel, but the reality is that when politics change, so do the laws. So for us tax people out there and those looking at preserving or doing tax planning, this might be the last year that you have a low tax rate. It could be. The House comes in, they negotiate something, and things might change. That's why the Republicans now are redoing a tax 2.0 to perhaps lock in what they see as good tax cuts. So again, this isn't political, but just saying that with the change in tide comes a change in rules. So for those looking to do planning now, tax rates are not going to be lower. If you have a low year this year for whatever reason, taking a big loss, you might want to think about converting that IRA into a tax-deferred account. Just one silly example. Again, don't take my advice from this show. Definitely get some personalized advice there. And then last but not least, we have Manafort. Yeah. So what counts did Manafort go down under? And for those that don't remember, Manafort was a guy who worked with Roger Stone in the 80s. They had their own political advising firm, and then he was a campaign manager for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What are the counts again?
Yeah, convicted of 5 counts of tax fraud.
5 counts of tax fraud.
2 counts of bank fraud.
2 counts of lying to banks to get larger loans.
Yeah, and then for millions of dollars. And then 1 count of a failure to disclose a foreign bank account.
Failure to disclose a foreign bank account. So the point is that I think the larger point is that a lot of people are saying it was a political prosecution, right? They were looking for campaign fraud, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And what does he go down for?
Tax fraud.
Tax fraud.
Looking for Russian collusion.
Russian collusion.
And he's taken down for tax fraud.
And he's taken down for taxes.
Completely separate.
Completely separate. You think that sucks?
It's a bummer for him.
It's like getting pulled over for a parking, like a speeding ticket.
Yeah.
And then getting a tax audit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The point is, what some people are pointing out is anybody with money can ultimately be, guilty of any number of tax rules. Obviously, Paul Manafort, someone dealing with millions, is going to be a little more creative with where they're putting money.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think kind of point to take home there is if he had his tax ducks in a row, maybe if he hired us,
yeah.
he wouldn't be in jail. How long is he going to jail?
They haven't decided yet. But
he hasn't
they
been
declared a
sentenced.
mistrial on remaining 10 counts.
Yeah, like the 10 counts they thought they were actually going to go after him for, like none of those got,
right.
Couldn't get convicted on those, but they threw in some tax fraud, which apparently the DOJ can always do. And there you go. So sentencing, I think, is coming up, but a high-profile case of taxes going the wrong way. Certainly don't want that in the near future. So I think with that, we're going to round this up. We'll see you next week.